Hi, everyone. Welcome. Before we start, if you enjoy what we do here, we'd really appreciate it if you'd subscribe to the channel. We put a lot of work into pulling these stories together for you. Okay, so today, we're pulling back the curtain on a really unsettling case. It starts with, well, a terrifying discovery, and it just unravels from there into this complex web of manipulation and, frankly, dark obsession. Picture this. A quiet Friday morning, October 2nd, 2020. It's shattered, completely shattered, by a desperate 911 call. That's really where our story kicks off.
Yeah, and what seemed at first like, maybe a random brutal act, it quickly showed itself to be something far more intricate. We're going to explore how the investigators had to meticulously piece together all these seemingly disconnected details. It revealed this chilling narrative of deception, of control.
Right. Our goal here is to try and understand the unsettling truth behind what was a truly brutal murder. To grasp the hidden forces, the dynamics at play, and maybe pull out some insights that go, beyond just the surface facts of what happened. Let's really get into this one. So the chilling start was that Friday, October 2nd, 2020, just a bit before 9 a.m. A panicked call comes into Carrollton, Texas police. When the first patrol teams got there, it was an apartment leasing office parking lot, 1120 MacArthur Drive. They found, well, a truly grim scene. There's this gray Toyota Corolla just sitting there, driver's side window shattered, clear bullet hole. And then just a few steps away, on the sidewalk, an empty knife sheath.
Just lying there.
Yeah, but the most horrifying part was on the pavement nearby. The body of Alisa Burkett, she was only 24, long black hair, light skin, found bleeding heavily. She had a gunshot wound to her face, and tragically numerous very deep stab wounds all over her body.
The medical response was immediate. Paramedics were right there. But despite everything they tried, at 9:12 a.m., Alisa Burkett was pronounced dead, right there at the scene. And what immediately jumped out to the crime scene investigators, almost like a blaring siren, was this critical first finding. They found a GPS tracker. It was hidden, placed covertly under the victim's car fender.
Wow.
Yeah, that told them straight away. This wasn't random, not a chance. The tracker signaled immediate, profound suspicion. It pointed towards something planned, targeted, not a chance encounter.
It absolutely does. And what's really striking is how quickly we can piece together those horrific moments right before the murder. That's thanks to Alissa's coworkers, who were obviously traumatized. Alissa had just gotten to work. It was 8:52 a.m., literally minutes before. She hadn't even got out of her car yet. Suddenly, this man gets out of a black Ford SUV. It was parked nearby, and he just fires a shot straight through her driver's side window.
Unbelievable, right in the parking lot.
In the parking lot, chaos inside the office, obviously. Her coworkers, terrified, they run, they hide. But one was sitting near a window, had a view, and saw the attack unfold. Another one described the attacker as a black man. A third specifically noted the vehicle, that black SUV.
And here's where it gets even more chilling, if that's possible. The attacker seemed to leave at first. He headed back towards his SUV. But Alissa, miraculously, she was still alive after being shot in the face. She somehow managed to struggle out of her car.
Oh my God.
Yeah, she stumbled desperately towards the building entrance. She was knocking on the glass, trying to get help. The attacker saw this, saw she was alive, trying to escape. He turned around, came back, but this time he had a knife out, and he proceeded to inflict 44 stab wounds all across her body before finally getting back in his SUV and speeding away.
44, that number, it's beyond comprehension. What kind of rage, what level of intent does that speak to, especially after already shooting her?
It speaks to absolute, just unbridled rage, a deeply personal attack. It wasn't just about killing her. It seems like it was about total destruction, maybe even humiliation. Like you said, this wasn't a crime of opportunity. This was immense, focused anger. And it begs that question, why the overkill? It really suggests the gunshot wasn't enough for him. There was this need to ensure she was dead, absolutely dead, and might maybe send some kind of horrific message. And yet, despite that, that raw personal fury, the way it was carried out seems almost efficient, calculated. How do you square that? The extreme emotion with the cold calculation, especially when you consider for a crime this violent, this brazen in broad daylight, there were no security cameras covering that area. None.
Right.
It's almost like he knew exactly where to park, where to act, or maybe what not to leave behind, like footage. That's a really sharp point. And based on the nature of the crime itself, investigators could draw some immediate conclusions.
Yeah.
This was clearly not random, not accidental. The choice of location, her workplace parking lot, the time just as she arrived, the method gun first, then knife. It all strongly suggested the killer knew Alissa, knew her routine.
Yeah.
The motive clearly wasn't robbery, it wasn't sexual assault. It felt like it stemmed from this intense rage, this profound need for control over her. That points towards some kind of prior relationship, emotional, maybe familial, maybe competitive. And that efficiency you mentioned, plus the lack of cameras, it suggests either someone with criminal experience or someone who meticulously planned this, maybe even someone familiar with how police investigate things.
The two weapons thing really stands out too, doesn't it? The gun to incapacitate, the knife to, as you said, finish the job. That screams premeditation, not impulsive at all.
Absolutely. And that GPS tracker under her car, its importance just cannot be overstated.
Yeah.
It wasn't there for car theft, obviously. It was for long-term surveillance. Control. It paints this picture of Alissa being watched, tracked, her every move known.
Chilling.
It's a hallmark of stalking, of planning, not a spontaneous act. And those 44 stab wounds, they become the brutal, horrifying punctuation mark on that long-term obsession.
So who is Alisa Burkett, and what path led her to this just awful, tragic end? She was born late 95 in Dallas, Texas. After high school, she went off to study history in Southern California. In 2018, she was 22. She met Andrew Beard on Tinder. He was older, 33, seemed successful, wealthy, from Northern California, had a nice home, even owned a private plane. Their relationship apparently wasn't super serious at first, just a few casual dates, that sort of thing.
But the pivotal moment, and really the start of this whole tragedy, came near the end of their dating period. Alissa got pregnant. Their daughter, Willow, was born July 23, 2019. But by then, Alissa and Andrew had already split up. They agreed to a shared custody arrangement, but Alissa was the primary caregiver. Andrew apparently only spent maybe a day or two a week with Willow.
Okay.
And Alissa was facing a lot during this time, trying to finish her education, working as an assistant manager, and dealing with this increasingly tense custody battle with Andrew. It took a huge toll on her, mentally, physically, plus she was struggling financially.
Right.
But then there seemed to be, on a surface at least, a positive turn. Andrew got engaged to a woman named Holly Hines. And interestingly, at first, Alissa and Holly actually struck up this surprisingly friendly relationship. They were even messaging each other, talking about building a healthy co-parenting dynamic for Willow.
That initial friendliness, though, between Alissa and Holly, it sounds almost too good to be true. Knowing what happened later, was there like a specific turning point? Or did that harmony just slowly fall apart?
Oh, it fell apart very, very quickly. The bizarre stuff started escalating fast. August 6th, 2020, so just a couple of months before the murder, Holly calls the police. She falsely claims Alyssa's mother, Teresa, assaulted her while Holly was holding baby Willow. Police were dispatched, they looked into it, but the case was closed pretty fast. Not enough evidence. It was a clear, early sign of manipulation.
Wow. Okay, so that's a big red flag right there.
Huge. Then, just weeks later, another incredibly suspicious thing happens. An anonymous call comes in from a man calling himself Frank. This Frank tells the police to check Alyssa's car, which is parked at her workplace. They search the trunk and find a large amount of cash, packages that look like drugs, and a gun with a serial number filed off.
No way. Planted.
Alissa was completely shocked. Insisted it wasn't hers, she was being framed. And given her background, absolutely clean record, no history of drugs, no criminal ties, the police actually didn't pursue charges against her. But imagine how terrifying that must have been for her.
Absolutely terrifying.
Definitely. And if you start connecting these dots, like the investigators did, this deeply disturbing pattern starts to emerge. You've got the relentless custody battle, the planted evidence in her car, and then Alyssa's own mother's chilling statement on the day Alissa was murdered. She apparently said, "She's finally going to kill me," talking about Holly. It all started pointing towards Andrew Beard, but with maybe Holly pulling the strings.
Right.
And Alissa herself, after that fake drug bust, she was understandably changed. She started telling friends constantly that Andrew was stalking her, seeing his car everywhere at the gas station near her home.
Her fear, her paranoia, it just escalated dramatically in those final weeks, didn't it? Asking friends to drop her right at her door, check behind them, make sure her door was locked. She even started a crowdfunding campaign online. And the words she used are just bone-chilling. She wrote, "She was truly scared for my life and my daughter's life." That implies something way beyond just a legal fight, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It shows a woman living in just profound terror, feeling completely isolated, unprotected by the system, by anything. When someone goes public like that, crowdfunding to express fear for their life, it's a desperate cry for help. It means all other avenues feel closed off. And it strongly suggests This wasn't just one incident, but a long escalating pattern of intimidation, harassment that she clearly believed was heading towards something catastrophic.
So Andrew Beard, he was arrested right after the murder initially, right? But then, surprisingly, he got released due to insufficient evidence at that point.
That's right. Released initially, which must have been incredibly upsetting and frightening for Alissa's family.
I can only imagine.
But the investigation didn't stop. The decisive turn came when police got search warrants for Andrew's car in his home. And what they found there was damning. At his house, they found this letter. It had frantic handwriting, detailing Alissa's workplace, her car model, her commute times, and among those notes was the name Frank Morrow, the name used by the anonymous caller who reported the planted drugs and gun.
Ah, the link.
Exactly. Directly linking Andrew to that framing incident. And crucially, they found a charger and a portable battery for a GPS tracker. The model and serial number matched precisely the one they'd found hidden under Alissa's car. An undeniable connection.
Okay, so the pieces are really starting to fall into place there. And the car search, what did that turn up?
Even more. In Andrew's car, they found a backpack. Inside were men's hiking boots. They were wet with bleach and physically cut up. A clear, if clumsy, attempt to destroy evidence.
Trying to get rid of DNA or something.
Precisely. And alongside the boots, 2 bottles of professional-grade dark brown makeup.
Makeup? Why makeup?
Well, remember, one of the coworkers described the attacker as a black man. The makeup was the critical piece that confirmed the theory the killer had deliberately disguised his appearance. Likely Andrew, who was white, used the makeup to darken his skin, trying to match that description and throw investigators off. It shows premeditation, trying to create a false trail.
Wow, okay. And there was something else found later, right? An artificial beard?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Found near the car door later on. It reinforced the whole disguise theory. It showed the killer wasn't just violent, but also thinking, however badly, about covering his tracks, manipulating the evidence.
So the final pieces just clicked into place then. Records showed Andrew had bought a black Ford Expedition, matching the killer's vehicle description. GPS data from that SUV showed it parked just a few blocks from Andrew's home, only half an hour after the murder. Bloodstains inside the SUV were tested, confirmed to be Alissa's DNA. And then the artificial beard near the car door matching the witness description.
Yeah, with all of that, the tracker connection, the notes, the attempted destruction of evidence, the disguised materials, the vehicle match, the GPS data, the DNA, it was overwhelming. Andrew Beard was rearrested, this time for first-degree murder.
But even then there was another twist. He was released again, wasn't he, on bail? $1 million.
Yes, unexpectedly released on $1 million bail, which again caused immense distress for Alissa's family. They were terrified for their own safety.
Understandably.
But then the case went federal. The FBI took over. And just 8 days after his release, Andrew was rearrested. Interestingly, not initially for the murder charge again, but for illegal possession of an unregistered homemade firearm suppressor, a silencer they found in his closet.
Ah, so a different charge to keep him locked up.
Exactly. While not the murder charge itself at that moment, it effectively kept him incarcerated for the next 18 months while the bigger case was built.
Okay. And what about Holly Hines during all this, Andrew's fiancée?
Right, this is where the plot really thickens, and she comes sharply into focus. After Andrew's initial arrest, Holly Hines basically vanished. She went back to Michigan, cut off all contact with everyone involved, seemingly started a whole new life. New apartment, luxury car, even a new relationship.
That sounds suspicious. Running away.
To investigators, yeah, that sudden radical life change definitely raised huge red flags. Why disappear like that if you're innocent?
And then came the bombshell. June 15th, 2022, Andrew Beard decides to cooperate. But it sounds like it wasn't out of remorse, more like trying to get a deal.
That's exactly how it appeared. Self-preservation seemed to be the motive. He decided to talk, and he dropped that bombshell. He claimed Holly Hines was the true architect of the entire crime.
Wow. Pointing the finger directly at his fiancée, what does that tell you when one perpetrator turns on another like that, especially someone they were that close to?
It often reveals a desperate calculation. Loyalty goes out the window when your own future is on the line. It's a common dynamic in these complex cases. And Andrew's allegations were chilling. He claimed Holly absolutely despised Alissa, wanted total control over Andrew's life, and especially over Willow. He alleged she devised all the plans, planting the gun and drugs, faking the assault claim involving Alissa's mother, even hiring a private investigator to dig up dirt on Alissa.
Well, everything, according to him.
Everything. And when those things didn't, get rid of Alissa or give Holly the control she wanted, she allegedly escalated, sending Andrew messages like, "It's time to act more seriously. What you've done so far is not enough." He claimed she essentially framed the murder itself as a test of his manhood.
That is incredibly manipulative. And the level of planning he attributed to her, orchestrating every detail. The disguise, the makeup, the timing, the escape route. Even planning messages for him to send during the act.
Yeah, he claimed she meticulously planned it all out about 2 weeks beforehand. The dark makeup, the specific clothes he should wear, the exact time to strike, how to get away clean, even planning morale-boosting messages for him during the murder itself.
That's not just suggesting something, that's like programming someone.
It really is, and it brings up that profound point. Sometimes you're not just looking for the person who pulled the trigger. You need to find the person who, in effect, made the killer. Andrew's testimony painted Holly not just as complicit, but as the driving force. He claimed the murder simply wouldn't have happened without her constant pushing, planning, and psychological manipulation. She allegedly created the whole scenario.
So with Andrew cooperating, the investigation finally zeroed in completely on Holly. She was arrested mid-July 2023, right at Miami Airport, wasn't it? Coming back from vacation.
That's right. Returning from the Dominican Republic. Arrested on charges of conspiracy to commit murder.
And the trial must have been dramatic.
Extremely. It began April 10th, 2024. And the prosecutor's opening statement really set the tone, perfectly capturing that dynamic Andrew described. The prosecutor said, Andrew Beard is a monster, but he is Holly Hines' monster.
Wow. Powerful framing.
Absolutely. It laid out exactly how they intended to prove Holly's deep involvement, her control.
And the evidence presented at trial backed this up.
Yes, extensively. They showed messages between Andrew and Holly going back to just 2 months after they met. These messages revealed a deeply controlling, unhealthy dynamic right from the start. Holly expressed this intense desire to control Andrew's life, and especially his relationship with his child. There was clear resentment that he still had ties to Alissa, Willow's mother.
And they connected her to the physical planning, too.
Definitely. Police reports showed Holly started researching GPS trackers and surveillance tech almost immediately after sending one of those controlling messages early on. The prosecution then laid out the timeline very clearly. Holly and Andrew bought the Blackford expedition together on September 13th, 2020. The very next day, September 14th, Holly goes out and buys that specific dark brown makeup. Then, on September 19th, just days before the murder, both of them go to a store together and buy the exact type of bullet and the exact knife used to kill Alissa.
Irrefutable. That timeline is just damning.
Completely. It painted this picture of calculated joint preparation, step by step, leading up to the murder.
And the motive. The prosecution argued it was obsession with getting custody of Willow.
That was the main argument, yes. Obsession with custody. But I think there might be a deeper psychological layer there, too. For someone like Holly, perhaps Willow wasn't just a child. Maybe she represented territory, like you said, a flag on a mountain that no one else, especially Alissa, should be allowed to claim. It wasn't just about custody. It might have been about absolute dominance erasing Andrew's past.
That's a chilling thought. So, the verdict.
After several court sessions, hearing all the evidence, the jury delivered their verdicts. Andrew Beard was found guilty, sentenced to 43 years in prison, and Holly Hines, the alleged mastermind, she received 2 life sentences.
2 life sentences. They're both incarcerated now, right? In Texas and Arizona?
That's correct. Currently serving their sentences in state prisons there.
It's just such a disturbing case.
It truly is. It offers this really chilling reflection on the nature of extreme control, obsession, how those feelings can fester, twist, and lead people to commit just unimaginable acts. It really shows how one person can effectively be turned into a weapon, used to carry out another person's twisted desires. A stark reminder of the hidden dangers when someone seeks that kind of absolute power over another person's life.
Yeah. This whole story really forces you to think about those hidden dangers within relationships, doesn't it? And the truly devastating impact one person's manipulation can have on someone else's actions and ultimately their fate. Looking into this case reveals not just, the mechanics of a crime, but the terrifying human capacity for dark, meticulous planning and the intense psychological battles that can rage completely unseen behind closed doors. It leaves you with that lingering question, doesn't it? How far can obsession really push someone to orchestrate such utter destruction? Something to really think about.